So I think yung dapat na role ng isang teacher is parang i-expose mo yung mga estudyante mo dun sa harsh realities nung bansa, and then you let your students make a stand na hindi mo didiktahan na dahil ito yung pagtingin mo, kailangan ganito din yung pagtingin ng mga estudyante mo. So,
mga usapin tungkol sa kabataan,
mga usapin tungo sa progresibong bayan.
Halina at makilahok, makialam at makichika.
Student Council Alliance of the Philippines presents
Usap
Tayo, the podcast.
Ako si Iani, ang inyong next door Marcy na nagpapaalalang magparehistro at bumoto ng may puso at matalino.
And I am Sid, ang inyong moral dream work from Lanao na nagsasabing kalusugang pangkaisipan ay pakatandaan, mental health stigma ay labanan.
Tara,
usap tayo.
Usap tayo. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of USCAP Tayo, the USCAP podcast,
where we talk about the issues in the country concerning the youth.
Well, for this month's episode, you're now tuned in with me, Yanni.
And I am Sid. At this month, pag-uusapan natin kung bakit,
kung saan ka nahihirapan,
doon ka pa mas difficult. So, ayan, good morning or good evening or good day to everyone, Sir RJ, Sir Mark, and Ayani. So, kumustahan naman tayo? How was your day, partner Ayani?
Well, my day has been doing great. It was pretty much normal, but I was a little bit medyo excited, medyo itchy for this event. So I was busy preparing throughout the whole day then. How about you, Sid? Kumusta?
Oh, don't begin me with my day. Napaka-busy ng day that I was preparing for this, and our academic was on its finals. Yung online classes was a very stressful setting na nga. For us na rin, na mga college students. So, ayan.
It is.
Oh, well, Ayani, another month, another topic, di ba?
Tama, Sid. Last month, dahil Pride Month, napag-usapan natin yung about sa LGBTQIA+, SOGI, and the roles in our community.
So now, for this, another theme for another month of our episode. We've done already 2 episodes, and now we are on our 3rd episode. And for today's episode, we will discussing Tindig, Laban sa batch 2020, which mainly focuses on student learning setup on an academic freedom.
Well, that seems interesting and very exciting dahil nakamatch siya sa ating current situation ngayon, which most of the students would be facing another online semester para sa academic year na paparating. And I believe today we will be joined by renowned speakers na magbibigay pa ng kanilang thoughts and extra learnings para sa ating listeners.
So ayun nga, for this 3rd episode of Usap Tayo, the podcast, we're now not just only available on YouTube, but we are now live streaming on Spotify. Yes, you heard it right. Maaari nyo mapakinggan ng aming podcast simula episode 1 hanggang sa episode na to, the 3rd episode hanggang sa future episode. So Spotify na rin. So follow and listen.
Wow, great news and congratulations, Cap, for that achievement. And now, we would be able to reach a wider audience. And speaking of audience, wag na natin patagalin pa ang paghihintay ng ating listeners.
Ay, alam niyo ba, partner, na we would be having 2 speakers for today.
Wow, pangmalakas na naman pala talaga ang SCAP on its second topic. 2 speakers, twice the fun and twice the learning.
So wag na nating patagalin pa. Let me introduce to you our first speaker, Sir RJ. Sir RJ Belen is a public administration graduate, a licensed professional teacher, and a lifelong education advocate. He was a teacher fellow of Teach for the Philippines, where he devoted 2 years of his life teaching in the far-flung community of Paranglumba Elementary School in Saan, Zamboanga del Norte. He continued the work towards education reform by becoming an alumni ambassador of TFP, where he worked with the Department of Education Central Office in the formulation of policies, programs, and proposals pertinent to the education sector. Sir RJ is also the co-founder of Super Reader Squad, a 2020 national awardee of 10 accomplished youth organization, which ensures reading a skill that every Filipino should possess. Ultimately, Sir RJ dreams of an excellent, inclusive, and relevant education that is within the reach of those at the great grassroots. So, let me introduce to you Sir RJ Belen. Hello po, Sir RJ.
Hi, Sir RJ. Good day po.
hello, magandang magandang gabi, magandang umaga, tanghali, hapon, depende kung anong oras nila papanoorin yung itong podcast natin sa YouTube at papakinggan naman sa Spotify. So magandang gabi sa lahat, magandang gabi Yani, Sid, and kay Sir Martin. Maraming salamat sa invitation.
Thank you din po for accepting our invitation to be our speaker here sa podcast na ito. Well, Sid and Sir RJ, kilala niyo ba kung sino ang makakasama niyo for tonight?
Wonder who would that be?
Okay. Now, ang makakasama lang naman natin for tonight is the National Convener of the Students' Rights and Welfare Coalition Philippines, or STRAW, a coalition that is specifically focused on the institutionalization of students' rights and welfare in both the local and national level. He is also our very own committee head for education and research of the Student Council Alliance of the Philippines and National Formation of Students, student councils, organizations, federations, and student political parties. He is no other than my fellow from USCAP SOCMED team as well, Mr. Mark Diaz. Hi, Mark!
Hello,
Hello, Mr.
mapagpalayang araw sa ating lahat. I hope we will have a very productive and insightful discussion for today.
Okay. Well, we are also hoping for that and para extra learnings din sa ating mga viewers and listeners. So, wag na natin patagalin pa ang paghihintay ng ating mga listeners, ng ating audience, at atin nang iparinig ang inyong tindig laban sa batch 2020. Okay, so beforehand po, we were given the information that the both of you have various advocacies which were established before the pandemic. Now, could you tell us more about it and how you have handled the shift from the face-to-face setup or traditional setup to online setup?
Alright, sige. So magandang araw po ulit sa lahat. So ako si RJ Belen, isa sa mga founders ng Super Leader Squad. So basically yung Super Leader Squad ay isang organisasyon na binubuo ng mga literacy advocates na nagsusulong na yung kasanayang bumasa ay dapat isang kasanayan na malayang natatamasa ng bawat batang Pilipino. So, nabuo siya noong 2019 pa actually. Nagsimula siya bilang isang reading program sa Santa Teresita Elementary School in Angeles, Pampanga. Sinimulan siya ng mga kasamahan kong co-founder na sila Teacher Kim, sila Teacher Sam, and si Teacher Mon. So, and then, nag-start siya noong 2019 and then fast forward to March 2020 na nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic. So, nag-start siya sa reading program sa school. Tapos nung March 2020, parang doon na nag-pivot yung organization. So, nag-usap-usap kami. Kasama pa namin dito si ako, tas si Teacher Nadine. Si Teacher Nadine naman ay galing naman nagturo naman ng 2 taon din sa Binyan, Laguna. So lahat kami mga teacher fellows ng Teach for the Philippines. So ako nagturo ako sa Science Zamboanga del Norte. So nakita namin yung parang bagamat iba-iba kami ng lokasyon, nakita namin na pareha yung challenge na kinakaharap natin when it comes to the literacy of every Filipino child. So we decided to work together. Kaya nag-pivot yung Super Leader Squad nitong March 2020 through our project My First Teacher. So nag-transition kami. Well, actually, sobrang hirap ng pag-transition kasi usually yung mga projects na nag-start yung Super Leader Squad ay on-ground talaga, face-to-face. So, meron kami mga library cart na umiikot sa mga classroom. Tapos, nagtitraining din kami ng mga magulang na face-to-face kung paano magturo ng pagbasa. Nagtuturo kami ng mga bata kung paano mga bata na grades 3 to 6 na hindi pa marunong bumasa sa school. So, imagine yung hirap na kailangan mo siyang i-transition lahat online, lalo na pag sa mga bata. So, we decided to focus. So, during the pandemic, we decided to focus on the parents kasi nakita namin na mas lumawak talaga yung papel na kailangan gampanan ng mga magulang natin when it comes to facilitating learning at home. So, we decided to focus on them to capitalize dun sa sinasabi natin na yung bahay, 'di ba, yung tahanan, yung unang paaralan ng mga estudyante natin at yung magulang yung una nilang mga guro. So that's why we came up with My First Teacher na siguro mamaya ko na i-discuss. So yun. So basically mahirap yung transition but na-manage naman through yung collaborative efforts with the parents, with our partner organizations. Ayun.
Okay. How about you po, Sir Mark? How did you handle the shift? Could you tell us more first about your advocacy and how did you handle the shift from a face-to-face setup to an online setup?
Okay, so The advocacy that I'm currently standing on, or like that I'm currently advocating for students' rights and welfare. Actually, this is an advocacy that is quite new to me. Actually, naging advocate lang ako first ko. Last December 2020, and I entered SCAP at January 2020. And basically, students advocating for students' rights and welfare is advocating for the basic rights of students and also advocating for the further empowerment of students. And it also advocates that students should not exclusively be just students, having academic burdens and all that, because we must recognize that it's imperative that in this democratic society that we recognize that students are also democratic agents and are also nation builders. And through advocating students' rights and welfare, we are advocating that specific kind of society that we want to achieve, especially for students. And how did I transition? Katulad na sinabi mo kanina, with my advocacy, I'm quite new sa advocacy na kasi I'm not necessarily new kasi January, pero so naabutan ko na yung advocacy ng straw online na talaga. So parang ibang-iba sa akin kasi I don't know how to, operate or run these advocacies face to face with interacting to people face to face physically, because lagi ko nakita virtual. But I'm hoping that sana magkaroon na ng physical interactions, matapos na yung COVID, and for me to be able to also run this advocacy physically face to face with other people.
Okay, Sir Mark, with that being said, just a follow-up question. How, like the youth, what are the ways that you could suggest in contributing to uplifting the welfare and rights of students, especially in this online setup? Like, how could we maximize this platform?
So there are many ways, like, as to how we could contribute on the situation of students' rights and welfare, right, in our own academic institution. And all those means that I will be discussing, right, are anchored to the goal of taking up space in our democratic society, right? In your academic institutions, for example, if students are tired because of so many academic readings, activities, and academic burdens in general, you can have a dialogue with your faculty and negotiate with them on how you could co-create, not just consult, but co-create a more human curriculum or taskings. Now, this is all while, of course, you consolidate power within your school student body, because you can't win anything, right? If you're not on the same page with the students you represent. This is in the context if you're a part of the student council. But if you're a student without any of these possessions, right, start talking with your student council and also consolidate power with the students. And how can you consolidate power within the students? You could start that even within your circle of friends, and just until it triples, parang gagano na lang siya, mag-ripple down na lang siya. But also, since it is not like an unknown fact that we don't have a national framework for students' rights and welfare here in the Philippines, these actions might be done at the expense of our own academic security, of your academic security. And most of us, of course, could not afford that to happen. So what you can also do is to join movements that fights for students' rights and welfare, maybe in a national context or local context. Such as the passing of a straw ordinance for local context. You can join us in Students' Rights and Welfare Coalition Philippines and be a part of our team in consolidating power with the students across the archipelago. Just by having information drives in your school or in your localities, it is already a significant contribution to uplifting students' rights and welfare. And lastly, siguro on an individual level, yung katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, let's learn how to recognize yourselves, not just a student of a university or of any academic institution, but also as a citizen and as an agent for democracy, for our country and society at large. Because with that recognition, kasi you also recognize your obligation not only to your own education, but also to the people and for the country that you ought to serve.
Okay, I would have to agree, Sir Mark. No, communicating with your fellow students and with the student councils na nasa posisyon sa school niyo, who has the privilege to talk and lobby things with the admin. siguro sooner or a few years later, kahit na mag-face-to-face setup na tayo. Kasi in our school po, we were able to establish mental health breaks after major examinations. So, it was a breather, like a 2 or 3 day breather for every student na walang ipapasa sa academically, wala silang academic dealings. Siguro in the near future, we would be able to have a national framework for that na hindi lang isang school or hindi lang selected schools ang magkakaroon ng mental health breaks or policies that would uplift the welfare of every student. Right, Sid?
Yes, I would agree. Additional to sa sinabi ng aking partner, yung pag-transition natin for Sir Mark, we are on we started on a online setting, and the challenge would be in the future is yung pag-transition natin sa face to sa from online then to face-to-face naman. That would be a challenge for us na nag-start then sa online setting. How would it result and how would it affect our motivations and willingness to advocate, to continue our advocacies. And lastly, as a psychology student na rin is the one thing I've noticed kay Sir Mark sa sinabi niya, yung you recognize yourself. That's the most important thing. One of the most important thing that should be considered as a student or as an advocate as a citizen of this country. So follow-up question lang po kay Sir RJ. How do you manage to still do your advocacies and give quality education in this kind of learning setup po, knowing po na it is very hard for all of us to continue what we have started way back during pre-COVID po?
So, siguro just to give a context to everyone who's listening na lang. So, in Super Leader Squad right now, we have 2 primary projects. So, yung una yung na-mention ko kanina, yung My First Teacher. And then yung pangalawa is yung Abot Ko Ang Libro. So, dun sa My First Teacher, it was launched last year. As I mentioned before, it was launched in April 2020. And we still have ongoing partnerships as we speak today. So, My First Teacher is basically a capacity building program that that aims to engage, empower, and equip parents with the necessary skills, knowledge, and materials on how to teach reading at home. So we do this by providing them with reading materials and resources. And then we also recognize the fact na hindi sapat yung meron lang silang materials. Dapat alam din nila kung paano gamitin. So we also facilitate training and seminar to parents, to teachers, and even to our community partners. And then third, we forge partnerships with different organizations, school administrations, and even individuals who share the same advocacy for literacy. And then lastly, we call for donations para ma-support yung expenses ng program. So basically, yun yung My First Teacher. And then pangalawa na project namin ngayon is yung Abot Ko Ang Libro. So yung Abot Ko Ang Libro, it's a mobile library cart naman that aims to provide kids or children with easy access to books. So what we do here is we adopt a community for 5 Saturdays for free storytelling sessions, free na pagborrow ng books of their own choice, mga storybooks, and of course mga free snacks na rin din sa mga bata. And then we actually piloted itong Abot Ko Ang Libro even before the pandemic pa. Pero as I mentioned before, di ba, school-based lang yung organization namin before. So, school setting lang, on the context lang ng school. So, ngayong June 2021 lang talaga siya na parang na-pilot in a community setting naman. And I think we were able to execute yung advocacy pa rin namin siguro because of 3 things. So, yung una, I think yung relevance siguro nung project. Kasi with My First Teacher, nakita natin talaga yung paglawak ng papel na kailangan gampanan ng mga magulang natin dun sa pagtuturo nung pagbasa o pag-facilitate ng learning sa loob ng bahay. And so parang yung mga magulang natin, they are always on the lookout for materials, for resources, diba, for training na pwede nila makuha para magabayan din nila yung mga anak nila. So parang somehow naging relevant talaga sa kanila yung My First Teacher. So maraming lumalapit dun sa page namin na nagme-message kasi free naman namin binibigay yung mga booklets, yung mga materials na meron kami, mga tutorial videos. And then pangalawa, I think we were able to harness siguro yung power of forging partnerships with different organizations across the country. Doon sa My First Teacher, marami kaming partner communities na hindi namin kailangan pumunta dun sa community to actually implement the program. So yung ginagawa namin, may mga org na tinatap, and then we empower those organizations for them to be able to implement yung My First Teacher sa locality nila. So kaya naka-reach kami ng hanggang, meron kami sa Siargao, sa Bukidnon, sa Cagayan, and sa Visayas meron din. So I think yun. So yung pag-tap talaga ng power ng mga organizations natin. And then lastly, siguro like for abot ko ang libro kasi dito namin siya ini-implement ngayon sa Baler. Luckily, relatively low yung cases ng COVID dito sa amin. So somehow medyo maluwag yung restriction.
Yes.
So siguro isa din yung factor kung bakit na-execute namin yung ilan sa mga advocacies ilan sa mga projects namin sa Super Reader Squad. Kasi yun nga, manageable naman yung restrictions, and tinatap din namin yung sangguniang kabataan kung saan namin ikakandak. Like for example, yung sa Purok Ilaya kung saan namin kinakandak yung abot ko ang libro. So tinap namin yung SK noon para sila na mismo yung magko-coordinate dun sa barangay para walang issue na o bakit kayo may mga gathering ganyan and may COVID. So and then parang nagiging involved na rin yung barangay dun sa implementation nung project. So I think yun.
Sir, question lang. Dun since nabanggit natin na natatap din natin yung parents, and parents are the ones who maximize the learning at home. How about the parents na non-read write? We also make them super readers, and how do we deal with them?
Actually, sobrang sa halos lahat ng partner communities namin na encounter talaga namin yung mga magulang na sila mismo hindi kayang bumasa at sumulat. And we acknowledge the fact na marami talagang ganung mga magulang. And we acknowledge the fact din na wala pa kami as of now na program for that, but we're actually looking into developing sana an adult basic literacy program na para dun sa mga matatanda na tas hindi pa marunong bumasa at sumulat. Pero ang ginagawa namin kapag may mga magulang na ganun, dun pumapasok din yung power ng community. So nagtatap kami ng mga, for example, parent leader. So may parent leader sa isang community, tapos yung parent na yun, siya yung parang nagkakaroon ng kumustahan session with the other parents, tapos pwede rin siya na mismo yung mag-guide doon sa pamilya na merong magulang na hindi marunong bumasa at sumulat. And then dyan din pumapasok yung power ng SK, kasi meron din kami mga communities na mismo yung mga SK, yung mga volunteers namin, sila yung nagvo-volunteer na magturo doon sa mga magulang, sa mga pamilya na mayroong mga magulang na hindi pa marunong bumasa at sumulat. So ano talaga siya, parang collaborative effort, teamwork ng community at ng organization.
Yes. Kaya nga nang sabi ni Mark kanina, di ba? Na it should be...
So, napakaganda po ng advocacy niyo na that was very admiring. Still in this pandemic po, nagko-continue yung moral or your very hopeful na mga advocacies. Another thing Sir RJ is bear witness na rin po kami that we have one of our organization here in locality in Lanao del Norte, Baloe, which is Salimbago Youth Volunteers Alliance po. We have one project po, and project Aral po, where we related po sa project niyo, which is yung abot ko ang libro. We reach for children na in a far-flung communities po, yung wala po talagang access sa mga libro or educational materials, and we give them in this pandemic po, we provide them the opportunity and the hope and the eagerness for to continue their education despite yung mga crisis na kanilang na face during this pandemic po. And one thing po is that it's very admiring, it's very heart-melting na nakikita yung mga parents na they are willing to learn with their children po for the sole purpose po or future or brighter future for their family po, sir. So
I actually know si Sid sa Salimbago, si Calif.
Yes,
if you know Calif.
Yes, sir. He is our advisor po sa
diba? Ano din siya, teacher fellow din siya sa Teach for the Philippines before, kaya magkakila. And I know yung na parang lumalaki na yung organization, so good job and kudos to you guys.
Yes.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Sir RJ. Sir RJ, another follow-up question po. It was written in your bio note that you were graduated or finished public administration. So, why did you choose to pursue your advocacy and focus more on your advocacy rather than the field of discipline that you had? And kay Mark naman, would you be able to do the same thing? Or are you planning to do the same thing as Sir RJ?
Siguro yung short answer diyan ay hindi ko naman talaga gusto yung public administration to begin with. As in growing up talaga, ang gusto ko talaga ay maging teacher. Gusto ko talaga magturo. Kapag nag-look back ako sa experiences ko growing up, lagi kong naaalala yung parang nag-i-invite ako ng mga kaibigan ko sa bahay para mag-teacher-teacheran, tapos nagko-compute ako ng grades sa class record, yung mga ganung bagay. Pero siguro yung nag-udyok lang talaga sa akin not to take up education ng college ay siguro the people around me na rin. Although I grew up parang in a family of teachers.
Karamihan sa mga tita ko ay mga guro. Yung environment na kinalihan ko, hindi ako ini-encourage na mag-pursue ng education kasi back then, 'di ba, hindi naman ganoon kalakihan yung sahod, 'di ba, ang definition
Pagod,
ng
ganun.
Oo, 'di ba, ang definition pati ng society natin na pag successful ka kailangan malaki yung kinikita mo, yung sahod mo. So parang alam mo yun na parang hinayaan kong diktahan nila yung kapalaran ko. So parang tsaka natakot ako na parang sinasabi kasi nila na hindi ko kaya yung buhay ng isang guro na ang dami mong trabaho tapos ang liit ng sahod. So parang natakot ako na i-pursue yung education kasi natatakot ako na sabihin nila na parang I told you so, 'di ba, na along the way na pag dumating ako sa point na yun, baka hindi ko pala kayang panindigan. Pero yun, parang I think if kilala niyo si Sabrina Ongkiko, parang may TEDx video siya na nirelease na sa isang social class sa UP. Tapos nanonood ako sa social class. Nagla-class kami tapos pinalabas si Sabrina. Tapos parang na-rekindle yung passion ko for teaching. Tapos parang kasi si Ate Sabrina Ongkiko, for a context na lang din, ay isang Ateneo grad. Tapos dapat magdo-doktor siya pero she chose to pursue na magturo sa public school. So ngayon parang 10 years, more than 10 years nata siya nagtuturo. Wow. So parang nakita ko yung sarili ko sa kanya, parang ganun. Pero nung time na yun parang hindi pa rin sapat yung panahon na yun para sundin yung gusto na magturo sa public school kasi parang 3rd year college na ako nun, so pag mag-shift medyo mahirap na. But siguro yung nag-udyok talaga sa akin na parang kailangan ko sundin yung as cheesy as it may sound, yung tawag ng puso ko ay nung graduate ako sa UP, nung sumablay na parang na-realize na hindi ganun ka-momentous yung sablay ko. Di ba pag graduate ka ng college parang dapat, graduate na ako. Parang sa akin yung dating is wala, graduate na ako, parang ang baba kasi tas na-realize ko na I was pursuing something na hindi ko naman talaga gusto. So, yun. So, bumalik ako sa probinsya namin, tapos nag-soul searching, tapos yun. Nagturo ako dito sa probinsya namin hanggang nakaabot ako ng Mindanao na nagturo. Tapos, yun. So, tapos minahal ko talaga. Parang, alam mo yun, parang hindi mo talaga kayang takasan yung kapalaran mo kapag doon ka pinunta. So, yun. Masaya naman, and no regrets after all.
Teaching is a passion po talaga, no? Like the care that you would have for the students. And ikaw, Mark, would you also chase the passion or do you have other things planned?
Okay, so actually, katulad nung kasi it really sounds cheesy for others to say that, I want to serve our country, I want to serve the people. But I think that I really have found comfort in telling myself that my passion is about serving people and being a leader in the society. And actually, public ad pala si RJ. And since I'm an incoming freshman, and the second choice ko actually is public administration. And first choice ko is development studies. But I'm yet to know what where would faith take me, or what do you call it, kung hindi man faith. Pero, ayun, I'll probably choose to still be in the development sector, helping other people, at least making the society that I'm in a better place. Ang cheesy, pero that's what I really want.
So, ayun, no, the passion is I could really feel the passion burning with the two of you na chasing those dreams. Even kung ano talaga yung para sa'yo, yun talaga yung makukuha mo at the end of the day, diba? And hindi naman mabibuild yung fulfillment with the dreams or opinions of other people, kundi makahanap natin yung fulfillment within ourselves and as we make our own decisions and traverse the journey that life has for us. Okay?
Yes, that was very inspiring it was very inspiring and exciting in some sort for us na mga freshmen pa lang, or we are still in our search for our purpose in life. Kagaya ni Sir RJ. This is very exciting. And how I can think of my future, like what if I can be like yung mangyayari din sa ating future, like how would I find my then in the field or in the hearts of the people that I serve in the community.
Actually,
so for the second
Sige. And actually,
So,
one of
you
my
continue.
fears is to live a life na, I mean, I feel like trapped inside. To live a life na I'm not happy about. It's one of my biggest fears. Kasi I would never be able to be myself, be Yani. Kasi pag sinabi namang Yani, ano yan, usually description, dapat ikaw masaya ka. How could you be you if you're not happy in the life that you're about to live, diba?
Yes, living someone's life is very hard when you continually and perpetually forget what you really wanted in the first place. And for the second question for everybody, why does academic freedom matter as a professional or as a student, as an advocate? Why does academic freedom matter? Sir Mark, pwede ka mag-answer first.
Okay, sure. So, academic freedom, it has a really large scope. So, I think when talking about academic freedom, it is really important first that we define, what it is, because, it intersects a lot of points of issues in the academic and university set. But for me, academic freedom is basically yung karapatan ng mga akademikong institusyon natin, mga kolehiyo, mga universidad, high school, kahit mapa-elementary pa man yan, na maging malaya mula sa tanikala or yung tanikalan or yung pakikialam ng Estado sa lahat ng nangyayari sa mga akademikong institusyon na yon. And of course, when talking about this academic freedom, it should not be looked at as an individual right, but rather bilang isang kolektibong karapatan. Academic freedom is a collective right that is endowed to universities, to our academic institution. So, why is it important, right? I think it's very, very easy to find its significance, not just in universities, but also in our society, right? The academe is a zone of learning. It is a place where most societal innovation happens. Doon tayo nakikipagdebate, doon tayo nag-aaral, doon tayo natututo. And should the state have the power to clamp down and deter the free flow of ideas and activities in our academic institution, the main goal of universities, to be a zone of learning, won't hold much water. So removing academic freedom in our academic institutions is basically shattering the main essence as to why these institutions exist in the first place. So kapag tinanggalan mo ng academic freedom, yung mga institutions natin, basically, don't just call it as a university na lang kasi there's no academic freedom at all. Kumbaga, in building a university, part and parcel, ng structure ng university ang academic freedom, essential, nasa pinaka-core ng essence ng academic institutions yun.
Sir
Sir
RJ.
RJ?
Sige, go. Well, actually, yung academic freedom, wala namang academic freedom sa basic ed sa basic education, elementary to high school. We actually follow yung top-down approach. So kung ano yung sinabi ng central office, kung ano yung dinesign nila na curriculum, that will carry over sa grassroots levels. Unlike sa higher ed, di ba, na parang students are able to take yung subjects na gusto nila, yung schedule, they can parang protest, may mga rally, pero wala naman tayo nakikitang ganun sa basic ed. But I think when we talk about academic freedom in basic education, malaki yung papel na ginagampanan ng mga teachers natin. Kasi parang somehow they have to be empowered in such a way na they understand what academic freedom actually looks like in the context of an elementary or a high school classroom. And for me, I think yung academic freedom sa loob ng isang elementary classroom ay parang binibigyan mo ng kalayaan yung mga estudyante mo na gumawa ng sarili nilang paninindigan na bilang teacher hindi mo tungkulin na parang to make them, kung ano yung stand mo, dapat ganun din yung stand ng mga students on social issues. I think for me, yung academic freedom sa loob ng isang halimbawa sa basic ed ay yun na parang you allow your students to take ownership of their learning, 'di ba? To make their own stand on a particular issue. And siguro i-share ko na lang din yun. Naalala ko kasi yung story nung nagtuturo ako sa grade 5 class ko noon. So nagtuturo ako ng English. So yung lesson namin ay adjectives. So nagkaroon ako ng activity na adjectives bingo. So parang may pa-flash ako na picture sa screen. Tapos dun sa picture na yon kailangan hanapin ng mga bata dun sa bingo card nila kung anong adjective yung parang best describes the picture shown na naka-flash dun sa screen. So finlash ko yung picture ni Duterte. So syempre dun sa bingo card meron dong mga parang cruel, ganyan, kind, ganyan, arrogant. Tapos so syempre iba-iba ng opinion yung mga bata. So parang how would you describe the picture shown on the screen? So sabi nung iba, for them, kind, sir, ganyan. Sa iba naman, cruel, arrogant, generous yung iba. So,
Wow,
so
at
sabi
a
ko,
young
the
age.
correct answer is, so syempre, di ba dapat may correct answer? So sabi ko, the correct answer is cruel and arrogant. Ganyan. And then, that night, parang sabi ko, parang may mali akong ginawa sa classroom. Parang hindi ako matahimik. Tapos na-realize ko, yun nga. So the following day, na nag-sorry ako sa loob ng classroom ko na kasi parang, alam mo yun, na diniktahan ko kung paano nila titingnan yung presidente natin. Kasi syempre, iba-iba naman tayo ng pananaw. So I think yung dapat na role ng isang teacher is parang i-expose mo yung mga estudyante mo dun sa harsh realities nung bansa, and then you let your students make a stand na hindi mo didiktahan na dahil ito yung pagtingin mo, kailangan ganito din yung pagtingin ng mga estudyante mo. So yun. So I think for me, academic freedom matters in basic education kasi that allows students to make their own stand on a particular issue, to take ownership of their learning, and to dream their own dreams.
Additional lang, very quick insight lang dito. Kasi magandang question yung pinost ni Arlie, What does academic freedom, how is academic freedom relevant to basic ed, to high school? Kasi sobrang napag-uusapan lang siya on colleges, universities, and master's degree,
Yes.
But as a straw advocate, I think tama yung sinabi ni RJ, na at least on LM na kumbaga minomold natin on how they would be able to take a stand. But for me, sa high school, sa konteksto ng high school, how do I think academic freedom looks like in high school? I think academic freedom looks like where students are not afraid, to descend inside the four corners of their classroom, where students are not repressed to not publish articles sa kanilang student publications when it is political or when it is anti-administration. Academic freedom looks like where students are able to organize inside their own institutions, are able to debate about topics without being clamped down by their own administrators and by their own teachers. So, ayun, very wide kasi talaga yung scope ng academic freedom. And ayun, that's my insight for it.
And I would have to agree with the both of you, letting them have a stand at a young age prepares them for the future na at least matututo silang tumayo at manindigan kung may implement natin yun or ma-encourage pa natin sila to have a stand, kunyari sa basic education part pa lang. At least pagdating na nila ng college, ay alam ko, ito yung gusto ko, mapapanindigan ko to. Hindi na sila kailangan diktahan pa ng mga outside factors or mga people na nakakahalubilo nila para just to create a decision na sila din naman yung mag-bear ng consequences in the near future.
Yes, truth yung part where yung mga students, how can we imagine or imagining yung in a world in a near future where students are being cultivated, being nurtured, yung to foster their own uniqueness. And I could not imagine such great opportunity ahead of them, where we give them the liberty and the guidance that they should deserve and do not dictate what they should be thinking of.
Kasi nung bata ako, parang I'm not allowed to speak about the government. Sinasabi lagi, bata ka lang. Tapos parang sa akin, kailan ako tatanda? Na up until at this age na, you're not allowed to speak about it, ganyan. Although my parents are very open naman din when it comes to political discussions. Kaya lang, meron certain years nun and time na they still like, ingat ka, ganyan, delikado ngayon. Mga ganun lagi yung approach nila when it comes to that. And nabanggit po natin kanina.
Sorry, Iani, kaya sobrang, i-add ko na lang, kaya
Yes,
sobrang
sir.
powerful talaga ng role ng mga teachers. Kasi kapag pumasok yung bata sa classroom mo, ikaw yung gumagawa ng environment, ng kultura, kung paano lalaki yung mga bata. So kung ikaw yung klase ng teacher na, alam mo yun, na parang nagdidikta, ganyan na dapat ganito. So ganun din yung may imbibe na kultura ng mga estudyante. So dapat yun. So kaya sinabi ko kanina na kailangan talaga nating ma-empower yung mga teachers natin para makita nila ano ba yung itsura ng academic freedom sa loob ng isang classroom. Para, di ba, we have to start them young na para pagtanda nila, alam nila manindigan, alam nila mag-isip ng critical, at alam nila kung ano yung mga dapat ipaglaban.
Lalo na, sir, at the basic education, children spend at least still 8 hours of school, 8 hours a day sa school. So malaki talaga yung impact ng teachers nila. Especially yung part na yun, growing years pa ng isang bata. Okay. So kanina po, nabanggit natin yung about sa core values of education. Now, how, in your personal point of view, how could you contribute to strengthening, or how could the youth or us contribute to strengthening those core values of education? Sige pa, Sir RJ or Sir Mark?
Sige. Ako, in my personal capacity, no? And I think yung higher ed values ay academic freedom, no? Social responsibility. So siguro, like for example, dun sa ginagawa naming project ngayon, yung abot ko ang libro, yung mobile library cart, di ba? Nang para magkikwento ka sa mga bata, tapos may processing questions, tatanungin mo sila ano nangyari, ano natutunan nyo dun sa story. Yung academic freedom mapapakita natin dun in the way we process yung story. So parang bilang isang storyteller dapat hindi dapat welcoming ka at hindi dictating, 'di ba? Na parang kasi ang dami nating mga stories na na may mga pinaglalaban talaga, like naalala ko yung isang storybook, yung if you're familiar with it, yung ang ikaklit sa aming mga hardin. So isa siyang story tungkol sa isang bata na merong dalawang nanay. Tapos, nung pumasok siya ng school, hindi niya naintindihan bakit siya binubuli ng mga estudyante, ng mga kaklase niya na may dalawa siyang nanay. So, di ba kapag kinuwento mo tong story na to sa mga bata, tapos inopen mo yung mind nila na ang konsepto natin ng pamilya ay hindi na lang may nanay at may tatay, tapos may mga anak, di ba? Na nag-evolve na siya ngayon, na pwede nang may dalawang nanay, may dalawang tatay, may anak, pwede ring walang anak. Diba? So ganun yung kapangyarihan for me. I think yung pwede ko magawa like in what we do right now sa abot ko ang libro. Yun yung pwede naming gawin kasi ang laki ng kapangyarihan ng storytelling, 'di ba? Na parang binubuksan mo yung mga bata, yung isipan ng mga bata sa mga progressive values, dun sa mga progressive na pagtingin sa mga issue at yun. So I think yun yung isa na pwedeng na pwede kong magawa in my personal capacity. And siguro pangalawa, yung isang experience ko na nagturo ako ng senior high school dito sa probinsya namin. So hinawakan ko yung mga tech voc, so vocational. And syempre pag vocational, di ba, yung society din naman natin ang baba ng tingin sa mga vocational. So coming from UP na ang taas-taas ng kompetisyon, na-imbibe ko yung kultura ng parang kailangan mangarap ka ng malaki, di ba? Kailangan lagi kang, you're always at the top. So parang tinry ko itong ipasa dun sa mga estudyante ko ng mga vocational students, mga grade 12. So I encourage them to take the USCAP, ganyan, to pursue college in Metro Manila. Pero na-realize ko na, alam mo yun, na parang hindi ko tuntunin, hindi ko trabaho yun bilang isang teacher. Hindi ko trabaho na sabihin sa mga estudyante ko na parang they're dreaming small. 'Di ba? Kasi sabi nila gusto nila maging mekaniko, gusto nila yun nga yung vocational talaga na course. So, parang hindi ko responsibility bilang guro to tell my students that they're dreaming small, that their dreams of pursuing college in Baler and not in Metro Manila is not big enough of a dream, 'di ba? That their dream of being a mechanic someday will not pave the way for a better future. Kasi na-realize ko na ang isang teacher dapat you don't put an end to a dream. You don't put a cruel end to a happy dream. So na-realize ko na ang role ko bilang isang teacher is to make my students' dreams more real for them. To equip them with the necessary skills and knowledge kung paano nila maaabot kung ano man yung pangarap nila para sa sarili nila, and to encourage them that they can do it. So I think isa din yun na pwede kong gawin, na parang kailangan hayaan natin yung mga estudyante natin to dream their own dreams. Ano ba yung pangarap nila? Hindi natin diktahan na dapat mag-doktor ka, mag-abogado ka kasi ito yung malaki yung kita, ganyan. Kailangan yung kung ano yung gusto nila. So, and doon nagsisimula yung somehow yung academic freedom, yung higher education core values na tinatawag natin. So I think yun yung pwede kong gawin, yung sa storytell namin, tapos yung sa pag-encourage dun sa mga batang tinuturuan namin to dream their own dreams.
Sir Mark?
Okay, so higher academic core education values. I think that kalakip kasi talaga nito mga values that our universities espouses is yung education system mismo eh. Kasi the values are created by the education system itself. So for me, I think in improving our values, academic values, and it should be responded to improving also the education system. So, and I think that it should not be responded to like in an individual scale. It must be a collective action paired with a collective clamor from the most important stakeholders in the education sector, which are the students and the teachers. Dapat lagi symbiotic, kumbaga yung relationships nito dalawang to kasi sila talaga yung kumbaga, pinaka may space when it comes to academic institutions. So, siguro 2 points dito. First is that the education sector should be capacitated and given resources to actually have an effective form of learning. Again, this is in line with improving the education system itself to improve, further the education core values. And in view of students, for example, since we are in an online setup, students should be given needed materials to push through distance learning and more importantly, the needed infrastructures. That is to say that we should give students tablets or laptops or, phones so they can attend to online classes and respond to the needs of online classes. Also, we should build proper infrastructures to also improve internet connectivity here in the Philippines because even if students have all of these resources, if they don't have a stable internet connection, these resources will be rendered obsolete at the end of the day. But of course, all these are alternatives to what classes should look like in the first place. So the very best thing still that can be done is to revert back to face-to-face classes, and this is like in the context of um the current context. So second is that the education sector should go beyond on being consultative when it comes to tailoring curriculums for students, and not just curriculums but actual values that our academic institutions should espouse. So on the crafting of those, in outlining what's included in their modules, for example, it's important that we include um, actual students in the process. This may be viewed as like very idealistic, but I think that it is something that our education department, that DepEd and Chad could work on because last year they were able to hold a convention for the creation of the BLCP, or the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. And that convention, was attended by teachers' parents, if I recall correctly, and civil society organizations. And ang natitira na lang talaga na gagawin natin dito is to include actual students or youth education advocates. With this course of action, it is very much possible that student needs on education, may it be on the education system itself, curriculum, and on the core values that the students should be espousing while they're in their own academic institutions. These will be responded to if these things could be done. Ayun.
So, tama naman si Mar. Tama naman yun na I think policy making should be inclusive. It should not just be limited to the officials na meron tayo. I mean, tama naman si Mark na kailangan i-consult mo na din yung students kasi after all, tayo yung mag-aaral and how could we achieve academic freedom if kung nadidictate lang, isang tao lang yung magde-decide and it would just be cascaded. So, I think tama na dapat makonsult muna yung students on thinking or crafting what's best for them. And would have to agree with Sir RJ as well na whenever we meet with young people, stories are the gateway their gateway to the world. Kumbaga, doon mo sa start na mag-instill ng information and values sa mga bata, especially at yung age. Kahit naman siguro tayong nasa adult level or adult age na kunyari may kinwento sa'yo, mas maniniwala ka pa rin sa mga kwento from experience aside sa chismis lang, di ba? And kahit naman din ng ancient times, they use stories or parables para makapag-instill ng values. And after all, teachers are second parents. So I think by doing this little ways na imposing academic freedom by being inclusive sa taas and paving these ways for children, ma-achieve naman natin yung goal in the near future, right, Sid?
Yes, that was very yung pag I agree with this with Sir Mark, yung pag-create natin ng core values and for example, consideration sa make ng education ng mga students, we should consider a lot of things then and not just only look at it on a single point of view where we should put ourselves on their shoes. We should look at in every possible way na to resolve, to improve, and to engage more on the students' welfare. And I agree din sa kay Sir RJ, yung the power of storytelling in the minds and in the soul and in education in raising children on anchoring their beliefs and their uh, in their development on the things that we aim them or we advocate them to do so. And
So I think that ends our first segment for this podcast. Now we proceed to the next one, which is fast talk. So for this one po, you would be given 2 minutes. So paghatian niyo po yung 2 minutes. So 1 minute each to pick a side and then explain. So are you guys ready? Okay, so first of all, we have online setup, beneficial or detrimental?
Pwede bang on the middle? Kasi on this one, I'm very on the middle. Kasi sa konteksto lang naman ng Pilipinas. Kasi we have this remote learning already way before COVID happened. But what we really need, nagka-mess up lang siguro because of the lack of capacitation ng teachers, infrastructure, katulad internet connectivity issues, and of course, resources. So I'm very in the middle, so I can pick a side. But in the context of the Philippines, detrimental.
Okay. Sir RJ?
Yeah, same. Ako, detrimental, lalo na dun sa mga estudyante ko na nasa Mindanao, nasa far-flung areas na walang access to resources. Ang dami ko sa mga estudyante na parang they had to stop schooling. So imagine yung mga estudyante na parang tinanggalan natin ng pumasok sa eskwelahan. Tapos parang yun na lang kasi somehow yung nagiging safe haven nila. Tapos mawawala pa yun. So,
contain pa sila sa bahay.
Totoo. Ang dami ng responsibility sa bahay din. So, for me, detrimental talaga. So, kailangan na natin talagang bumalik dun sa face-to-face, hopefully sooner.
Okay.
I agree with both of our guests. Okay. Yung benefit and detrimentality of this online setting po. I'm speaking on a personal level because I have this very close, almost a brother to me, where dahil lang sa internet connectivity, hindi siya nabigyan ng opportunity to continue his schooling on the Mindanao State University, where he was very much dreaming to do so or to continue his dream on that state university, and only for the sole purpose na walang internet connectivity sa kanilang municipality, that dream was put on a cruel end po. So the second question or fast talk is academic freeze or academic ease?
I'll go for academic ease. Kasi ako naman, although naniniwala ako na parang detrimental yung effect nitong online learning na nangyayari, yung online setup, but I believe na hindi natin kailangang itigil altogether yung education kasi ang magbe-benefit lang dyan ay syempre yung mga privilege, 'di ba, to access online learning, ganyan. So parang patuloy yung paglaki ng tinatawag nating education inequity kung magso-stop pa yung schooling. So at least kahit papaano meron tayong nagpapatuloy pa rin yung pagtuturo. Yun nga lang, for me, hindi talaga siya quality. Pero at least kahit papaano merong natututunan yung mga bata. So siguro yun nga, academic is kailangan lang nating i-manage talaga yung mga requirements na ibibigay para hindi naman talaga sobrang hirap on the end of our students.
Yes. Sa akin, it would be academic ease too. Academic fees is actually very, very problematic because once you implement academic fees, it intersects a lot of problems. Kasama na din yan yung unemployment ng napakarami nating teachers, yung pagtigil ng kanilang mga sahod. And of course, katulad nung sinabi ni RJ na parang kailangan talaga natin pagpatuloy yung edukasyon. And very false dichotomy yung piniframe sa atin ng gobyerno that we have to sacrifice education. Because if in the first place, they responded to the COVID crisis effectively, they have streamlined plan to actually respond to it, then we won't be in this kind of situation.
Well, after all, online setup is not for everyone. However, kung there would always be ways para mapadali or mapagaan yung load ng isang student and also the teachers, not just the students, but the teachers as well. Kumbaga, it goes both ways. Lahat naman nahihirapan or nahirapan dun sa shift na yun. at patuloy na nag-face ng problems nowadays. So I think I would also go for academic ease. Okay, now next up, equality or equity?
For me, it's going to be equity. You know, we have to acknowledge the fact that each and every individual in the society have different situations. They're in very unique context, you know, in their own lives. So it's very important that we and with kasama hand in hand with that is very unique needs too. So we have to respond to issues and problems that are really tailored to the context of the certain persons or certain individuals. Hindi naman kailangan pantay-pantay. Kailangan lang natin ma-respondihan na parang mas human and mas caring, kumbaga.
Same with Mark, I would go for equity din kasi yun nga, it recognizes yung different circumstances ng mga estudyante natin and it allocates, 'di ba, yung resources na kakailanganin. So syempre, kung mas malala yung sitwasyon mo, mas kailangan mo ng mas maraming resources. And I think yun naman yung kailangan natin before we actually reach equality, before we actually even go to equality. So equity first.
Yes, that was very true for us, especially that we are experiencing great inequality in our society. I'd go also for
Equity.
equity.
I'd also push for equity.
And for the last fast talk po, the choices are online setup or traditional setup.
Sige, ako na mauna. At traditional setup talaga. Kasi
Yes.
iba talaga yung may physical setting, di ba? Yung may physical classroom, may physical interaction.
Yes.
Yun yung I think that will actually help in improving the quality of our education as compared to online setup na, alam mo yun, na it only works with certain people at yung itong group of people pa na to, ito yung sila may mga privilege to actually access or to actually parang enroll in online learning. So I'd go to with traditional setup kasi mas inclusive siya at mas makakasigurado tayo na nako-cover talaga natin lahat ng mga bata.
Same, traditional setup because katulad ng sinabi ko sa kanina sa konteksto ng Pilipinas, and very messed up yung naging online implementation ng online classes natin dito. If we are to implement online classes, we should be able to have all the necessary infrastructures, all the necessary resources that needs to be given to our students and to our teachers. That is to say that we have to give gadgets, for example, to teachers to be able to push through, and you know, materials, and also hand in hand with that capacitation na din. But if we won't be able to achieve like be on that kind of level, then definitely traditional. And personally, pipiliin ko rin talagang traditional. Iba rin kasi epekto niya on individual level.
Yes, I think traditional setup is not just something na nakasanayan na natin. Kung hindi, Pilipinas is designed for a traditional face-to-face classroom setup rather than online. Kasi nakita naman natin kung gaano kahirap, di ba? And I think all of us should pursue or push through with Ligtas Balik Eskwela. And if kaya nilang buksan gradually ang malls and theme parks, they could also start gradually opening the schools. Lalo na papadating na ang start ng isang panibagong school year para sa lahat. Right, Sid?
Yes, that was very true. And for us here, I'm speaking for us here in Mindanao, especially here near sa Marawi City, we're not being provided, or that's a reality that we Maranao or we Mindanaoan have to face, that we don't have the choices, or we don't have the capabilities to for example improve the things that is now, for example yung internet connectivity here in the Mindanao, or for example yung pamamalakad ng mga Mindanaoan government, for example. And the traditional setup would be is no question would be the best setup for education.
Okay. With that being said, Sir RJ and Mark, are there any things that you look forward to once na nakabalik na tayo sa normal setting natin, once we go to face-to-face setup again? Not just in schooling, the things that you miss or looking forward when it comes to that situation.
Siguro as a student, since my school is very near sa Tomas Morato, it's like a very, very famous tambayan place. So for me as a student, that would be the first thing that I will look forward to, you know, hanging out in cafes and getting home at 12 a.m. That's that is something that has been stolen by to us students by this government, by Duterte. And of course, a much more effective form of learning. That's what I really look forward to. And with that, I really do hope the government could have a plan for the education sector. We have been sidelined consistently for the past few years. No, and sana matutukan na talaga ngayon because education is very important for the betterment of our society in general.
Ako naman nilulook forward ko yung normal na scenario pag nasa school ka, yung ingay ng mga bata, yung amoy ng isang school, ganyan kapag katapos ng magkaklase ka ng alauna tapos katapos ka ng lunch break. So yun yung siguro nilulook forward ko, yung giggles, yung laughter ng mga bata, yung physical interactions inside the classroom. So yun. So hopefully ma-experience ulit natin yun.
Yes. For me, if akong i-ask, for me, I look forward to yung everyday na pumapasok ka sa school and then you find out your classmates na hindi pa sila tapos sa kanilang assignment or activities. That's a very like nostalgic thing na nawala in an online setting.
Actually,
partner?
Ang nakakamiss sa online class is yung kapag mag-exam kayo, tapos tapos na yung major exam, lalabas kayo, hanapin mo yung friends mo kasi iba-iba kayo ng room, and then pag-usapan niyo, sabay-sabay kayong mas-stress when it comes to, ay, hindi ko nakuha kasing sagot, ganyan, tapos compare pa kayo ng answers, to only find out wala palang tama sa inyo. And, ayun, yung mga things na gano'n. Kasi, kapag nandito ka sa bahay, ikaw lang mag-isa mong kine-carry yung stress, and kahit na magkaka-chat kayo, hindi pa din kapantay nung pag magkakasama kayo physically.
Yes, that's very true. So,
okay, so thank you. I think that ends our today's episode. So thank you so much, Sir RJ and Sir Mark, for being here with us today. So any words, Sid?
So, thank you din po. And may I ask po, is there anything that you would like to promote or you would like to talk with our viewers or listeners
like
in
final
Spotify
message.
and YouTube?
Final message to our audience.
Final message ko is for students in general that, lagi tayo sinasabihan na parang we are the leaders of tomorrow. But we have to reclaim the fact that we shouldn't be the leaders of tomorrow. We should be the leaders today. That's why we really have to take space now more than ever, no? And of course, promotion ko na rin as a national convener for Straw Coalition. Join us in Straw Coalition. If you're signing up as an organization, please do. If you're signing up as an individual member, then just sign up at bit.ly/join Straw Philippines or join Straw PH. And then we'll be in contact with you. So ayun, patuloy ang paglaban kabataan, buklod kabataan.
Thank you so much, Sir Mark. Sir RJ.
Siguro on my end, mag-share na lang ako ng isa sa mga, actually, pinaka-paborito kong storya na binabahagi every time may speaking engagement ako. So yung storya ni Tope. So nung nagtuturo kasi ako sa Shayan, sa Parang Lumba, nag-coach ako ng badminton team ng Parang Lumba Elementary School. And I remember when I was a kid, I learned how to play badminton kasi privileged enough ako to have easy access to resources. So parang yung tita ko, binilhan ako ng raketa, tapos mga shuttlecock, and even yung badminton court sa bahay namin, walking distance lang, so pwede ko siyang puntahan anytime. Tapos na-realize ko na pwede din ako mag-avail ng badminton training program kung gugustuhin ko kasi parang afford naman ng mga magulang ko na i-enroll ako. But when I was teaching in the public school, I realized that this was not the case for most students. And this was not the case for my student Tupe. Sabi niya, "Sir, first time ko in Bisaya, pero tatagalogin ko na lang para pero baka makaintindi si Sid." Pero in Tagalog, sabi niya, "Sir, first time kong makahawak nung badminton racket nung inimbita mo akong sumali ng badminton team ng school." So yun yung sinabi niya in one of our badminton trainings. And naalala ko pa alam mo yun, yung frustration na bumalot sa buong katawan mo bilang coach. 'Di ba? Parang after 12 years of existence, it was only then na nakakita si Tope ng badminton raketa at nakahawak ng isang raketa. siya. Kaya parang it was no wonder for me when it took some time for him to actually learn how to hold the racket properly, kasi may tamang hawak yun to perform his strokes accurately and to never neglect yung footwork niya kapag nasa loob ng court. Pero naalala ko din actually yung, alam mo yun, yung bigger struggle of looking for ways para makapag-procure ka ng quality na equipment for the team. Kasi syempre kailangan mo ng magandang klase ng raketa, magandang klase ng shuttlecock. Tapos every practice, mag-pray kami na sana yung basketball tsaka volleyball team ng Shayan hindi nagpa-practice dun sa gym, kasi kung nagpa-practice sila dun, kailangan namin mag-improvise ng badminton court gamit yung straw na tali or kaya chalk. Pero actually, a week before nung tournament, medyo na-teary-eye ako just by looking at and observing Tope play inside the court. Parang I found myself strolling down the memory lane. Tapos na-realize ko na how Tope, despite being a first-time player and despite yung lack of resources na kinaharap namin, he had grown, leaps and bounds in just a matter of weeks. So sa tingin niya, nanalo ba siya? Well,
I believe in
champion
Tope.
siya.
Well, actually, nanalo siya nung district meet. So, he went on to secure yung victory in our district meet. Tapos, ni-represent niya yung Shayan district nung cluster meet namin. Kung saan, he placed second naman. So, actually, yung experience na yun made me realize na si Tope ay isa lang sa milyong-milyong estudyante natin sa Pilipinas who find themselves on the margins of our education system. And nakakalungkot na yung mga estudyante na to do not benefit actually from learning that is vital to their cognitive, to their physical, and even emotional and social development. At kung iisipin natin, mas pinalala pa di ba ng pandemic na to yung sitwasyon ng mga estudyante katulad ni Tope. Parang ang laki ng kakulangan when it comes to yung learning spaces for students like Tope who are in the far-flung areas. At ito yung naging incessant or perpetual na struggle nila to access quality and relevant education. Kaya dapat talaga patuloy yung paglaban natin for better opportunities for them. Pero on a positive note, bilang isang guro, it was such a delight na makita mo, di ba, na lumago, to have witnessed Tope's growth as a badminton player. Siya yung klase kasi ng estudyante, kasi teacher din nila ako sa science. Siya yung klase ng estudyante na kapag nasa loob ka namang classroom, hindi siya nagpe-perform academically. Hindi siya yung tipo na pala-recite, yung madalas nakakakuha ng score, mataas na score. Pero every time he was inside that badminton court, I saw pure joy in his eyes. Para bang nakahanap siya ng isang bagay na magaling siya at maipagmamalaki niya. So yung pag-coach ko kay Tope, pinakita sa akin noon na yung mga estudyante natin sa public school can compete and even do well against kids who are in the private school na merong years of experience and training. Kailangan lang talaga nila ng right amount of guidance and of course access to resources. Kasi imagine yung potential ng bawat bata kapag meron silang sapat na resources at sapat na guidance, 'di ba? So why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this story kasi siguro for our listeners na kayo sa ating mga college students, I want you to be that kind of person also. To be that kind of person sa mga peers nyo, sa mga kaklase nyo. I want you to grow up with a kind heart na kapag graduate na kayo sa college at maging successful na kayo sa careers nyo, you never forget to pay it forward, to pass it on, to pay the kindness forward to other people. And even now na nasa college pa lang kayo, I hope you become, that someone who will encourage others, who will inspire others, and allow others to discover where they're good at. Diba? Lagi kong sinasabi sa mga estudyante ko, and this is something na natutunan ko rin kay Sabrina Ongkiko na teacher sa Kulyat Elementary School, na ang totoong magaling ay hindi lang magaling dito. Kailangan magaling din siya dito.
Yes.
Diba? Dapat magaling ka din sa puso, may pagmamahal ka sa ibang tao. Ang totoong magaling ay yung taong kayang magpagaling pa ng iba. So tulungan tayo, diba? Tulong-tulong tayo. Let's listen to one another kasi lahat naman tayo nagsa-struggle sa pandemic na to. Let's empathize with one another, empathize with your parents, with your classmates, with your teachers, and let's help each other out. So, yun.
Ayun. Sabi nga po nung isang paring kakilala ko, ang tunay na magaling nakakapagpagaling din ng kapwa niya. And thank you so much, Sir RJ, for sharing to Pen, Sir Mark, for sharing, enlightening us with straw na kailangan pa nga natin i-uphold ng students' rights and welfare. And Sid, are there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think isa rin sa sport ko, yung badminton, and I think Sir RJ would be the best coach for me to develop my sport badminton skills. So thank you
So,
again,
schedule na tayo ng
Sir
training
RJ.
session, Sir RJ.
Yeah, sa future, contact lang you, sir. Sir, thank you, Sir RJ, Sir Mark, and thank you for your wonderful words, insights, and ideas with the theme of today. So that's it for today's episode.
Okay. Maraming salamat po ulit, Sir RJ and Sir Mark, for leaving us. Hanggat meron isang nagtitiwala, magpapatuloy tayo. And thank you po for being here and accepting our invitation. Hopefully, this is not the last time that you would be with us and with SCAP. Looking forward to more engagements and events with you, with the both of you in the future. Okay, at everyone, ayan, si Sir RJ and Sir Mark, at narinig natin ang kanilang tindig laban sa Batch 2020.
And this ends our masayang usapan.
Mga usapan tungo sa progresibong bayan.
Kung saan ka nahihirapan,
Doon pa mas difficult. Well, I'm Iani, your next door Marcy, na nagpapaalalang magparehistro upang makaboto ng matalino at may puso.
And I am Sid, ang inyong moral dream boy from Lanao na nagsasabing kalusugang pangkaisipan ay pagkatandaan, mental health stigma ay labanan. Tara!
Usap
Usap
tayo.
tayo.